refining and deciding. And then phase 3 is building the sales funnel.
And building. Then we build it, and then we test it and we scale it. And I love that it's whether or not it's a good product market fit. And the really cool thing that I find, and tell me if you find this as well, Kathleen, is as you're walking through and you're stepping through this process, don't people have a tendency to have other aha moments, and then suddenly they're shifting because they're like, no, that's not really what I want to do. I really want to do.
There's an alignment that I really find important to tease out of someone. Yeah. And a lot of times our weekly calls are talking about like, you haven't moved forward on this. Is this still something you want to do? Do we want to pull back? Just because it worked. And that's also something interesting, is that just because it worked one time, if it's not lighting you up, if it's not an alignment, let the fact that you built a sales funnel that made you a 6-figure income propel you to think, well, what should I create next? Because if it's not that, then it doesn't matter that you built a list and if you don't want to do it, you're just building a prison of your own making.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I love the process of going through. Just because we went into the right doesn't mean we can't shift and go to the left. Doesn't mean we can build. We don't have to be stuck with anything. There's no sticking. The great thing about this, I'm an old school marketer. So coming into digital is like, it's like the gods came down and blessed us with this, because we used to have to live with whatever marketing was for a whole year, whether there was an error, spelling error, anything like that, because we had just spent the expense of having things printed out or having things published or all that. And you didn't have that digital tweak that you could do within seconds. Now we decide we go in a different direction. No big deal. We just jump back on and we switch it. Our websites, we can modify it. So put it out there, get it out there so that you have presence. You start building your SEO up, your search engine optimization up, and then you can then tweak from there and do your testing. I love the testing and scaling. Don't get me wrong. You want to go out there with a good presence, but you don't have to be absolutely perfect. Sometimes people wait so long that they don't even want to do that product anymore, but we were tweaking for so long,
right?
But they never get it out, So I'm sure you run into that. So once you get them through that refining, and there's a lot of time spent on that. I know that I've watched marketers, they have to basically hold the horse reins back and say, not yet, don't run, not yet. And we're struggling trying to keep them from running. And we know why they want to bolt. We know why they want to be the stallions running at pace. But we also know the process. We need to feel that process and go through it. Do you talk about that, walking through that process with your clients? Because sometimes it's hard to hold them back, right?
You know what I think it is I think it's an aversion to sales. So, but interestingly, it gets worse the more complete your product is. That fear gets so much worse because you've put in that clever turn of phrase, you added that fun little GIF, and you've added these little Easter eggs, and also you've made this great product. And by the time it's done, if you don't rein it in, then what it feels like, which is not the truth, but what it feels like is that you are saying, this is me. Do you like me? And when somebody says, when your sister-in-law says, hey, I don't really need a LinkedIn outreach digital course because I'm a school teacher and I don't need leads, then you're crushed, you're brokenhearted.
Right.
It's easy to say, well, nobody needs this.
Yeah.
My market research of asking my sister or whatever.
P.S. That's not market research. This. Just in case you're wondering, that's not market research.
No.
That's just somebody's opinion. That's one person's opinion.
And so the pushback I get in my program is once you have an outline and a sales page, you need to ask people who you think would be a good fit for that product if they would buy it. And that is a scary thing for some people to do. Yeah. But it's less scary because it's what you're saying is like, hey, I have this idea. Does any of this resonate with you? Does this price point make sense? Does this transformation, is this transformation believable? Is this something you need in your business? it's a lot less pressure than I just worked for 8 months on this. Do you like it?
Yes. Yeah. And there's something about the phrase sales it's just everybody gets like rigor mortis when you're like, oh, now you have to go sell it. And they're like, what? So when we come back, I want to talk about that fear of sales and how we transfer that mind shift. And when you do this mind shift that we're going to talk about, how it really scales on you and how we're going to find that extra $100,000 that people are leaving on the table that you're going to help them pick up and then run with. You're listening to Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. We're here with Kathleen Celmins, the well-paid expert. We're going to come back after a short break and talk more with Kathleen. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. I am Coach Lorianne. If you'd like to be a guest or lift up your business product or not-for-profits, or if you have a question or comment, we would love to hear from you. Email us at healthylifestylewithla. That's healthylifestylewithla@gmail.com. And we really want to get you to take action and change some of those behaviors. So just give us an email and we would love to speak to you. Welcoming back our guest today, Kathleen Celmins, the well-paid expert who has a well-paid expert mastermind, who's going to help you find and uncover $100,000 revenue stream without even have to create anything else that is sitting probably right in your back pocket right now. And we've been talking about that. And where we left off, Kathleen, was people's fear of sales, that word sales. I have to go sell something, makes them crazy. And I found in my experience that if we change that word to really believing in something that you're doing and that you're helping somebody else out, it really changes the mindset of the person. Do you run into that? And how do you overcome that hurdle? Especially, do you address this in your mastermind?
Yeah, we talk about it in the mastermind because what we're building ultimately is a sales funnel that can run with ads, but we don't want to put ads on something that humans aren't interested in buying. And so in order to find out if humans are interested in buying, we have to have sales conversations with humans, and that can be scary. And so we talk about that sometimes. Like one of the things that I talk about is that so when we're in the group, like show of hands, how many people feel like sales is pickpocketing? And when the hands go up, which they do, that's when we talk about how to reframe it.
Yeah.
Because it's tough. All the books you've ever read say everybody loves to buy, but nobody wants to be sold to. Well, that doesn't actually help you in the moment.
Yeah.
Because especially when you're a agency owner and you've created a digital product, you have a lot of your blood, sweat, and tears, not just your IP, but your
baby.
You've done a lot of work for it.
Sure.
And when you have an emotional connection to the product, it can be really hard to sell it. It's you see this when people are selling their childhood homes. It's very, very difficult for some people to do.
Because we have an emotional attachment, and I liken it to, I'm so in the moment that I can't see it how other people look in at it. And I'm maybe a little fearful of rejection too. So with all that laced in, there's a lot of anxiety and angst. And so we use this as an excuse, a justifiable excuse not to take that next step. And that's where someone like yourself, who's an expert, comes in and gives you the tools that you need, because let's talk about the advantage of feedback, of getting that marketing feedback from somebody. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Well, and again, this is why I like to do it early, because if I asked you, even though now we've only known each other for 30 minutes, but if I asked you for feedback on an outline, it wouldn't be as scary to me as feedback on a book about my childhood or something that I spent a year writing or whatever. Sure. So you ask for feedback early because you want to get a good idea of whether this is something people want. And in the example that I talked about with the emails for financial advisors, when the person asked if this is something people wanted, the first 5 people she talked to signed up for the service. So it was not just testing the market, but putting money back in to this idea. And so,
and also by doing this, you're avoiding spending, I just spent 3 months building this and now nobody wants it. You catch it at the front end so that you're not wasting time on something that's not hitting, not making a mark. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's real important. And plus, don't you get people used to the process early on so that when we get at that really scary point when we're ready to release the hounds, that at that point they're so used to getting feedback and dealing with it and understanding the negotiation of it within themselves. Don't you see? Do you see a huge difference? Right?
Yeah, and it's more about like if there's not a product market fit, it's separating yourself from I don't like that idea to I don't like you.
Yes.
We hear that's a stupid idea. We hear, and women are more guilty of this than men, but we hear you're stupid.
Yeah.
You are worthless. You're never going to have any good ideas. And that's not ever what anybody who actually knows you is saying. Trolls on the internet
excluded.
Aside. But they don't
count anyway. So
right. The idea is coming up with something that people need. And so
you're solving a problem.
Right. And so when you're able to say, I have this easy thing that makes my job easier. Is this something you're interested in? You will know right away if you have to do more explaining, it might be harder. I have a new program. So I have 2 programs, the Well-Paid Expert Mastermind, but I have a new one that's talking about my system for filling my sales calendar using LinkedIn. And because LinkedIn is a known quantity and because people need more sales appointments on their calendar, people are understanding it in less time than they are with this productizing your service thing. So I have two different things, and I'm interested in the feedback on both, because the idea that if you pick something that's easy, and that's part of what I teach too, is in the brainstorming stage, and everybody actually listening to this can do this brainstorming with us, where think about the things that you say the word just around. So I don't know what I would build a digital product around. I just have this thing where I can onboard a new virtual assistant in 2 weeks without mistakes.
That's minimizing language.
Just like that. But it's also, the closer you get to mastery, the more you think everybody has your same knowledge. And so when you think about, well, I can just like put together a spreadsheet that predicts growth over 12 months with a few different inputs. I was like, well, that's amazing. Yeah. What do you mean? Seriously. Just like, so, or I just am able to onboard clients without any friction. Okay, great. So the answer is in that word, but it's also when you're doing your own brainstormings, in investigating the processes that keep your system afloat.
Yes.
Keep your business running.
What's working? That system is working, and those minimize. Words matter, So, and it matters how you're saying it to yourself too, not just externally, because that's what we're hearing. Like you said, women have a propensity, because of how we're brought up in society, we have a propensity to take everything so amazingly personal, and we have to stop it. I was brought up like my brothers, so I don't really take things personally. I have a big separation, and so it makes it very strange. I actually had a conversation with someone in a job I did years ago, and I was their supervisor in the building, and outside of the building, I was their friend. And so I was not pleased with what they were doing in the building, and we had a very direct conversation about that, being unpleased. But when we went outside the building, I was fine. And she was like, I thought you were upset with me. And I was like, in there, I'm not happy with what you're doing, and I know you're going to correct it, but out here we're friends. It's there's a separation. She goes, that's just like you have multiple personalities, because that just doesn't make any sense. And I was like, no, I've learned separation. I don't take it personally, and I don't want you to take it personally. It's not personal. We have a job to do in there, and I want you to succeed. So I want you to take the right steps. Out here, though, we're hanging out. Let's have a beer. Come on. So it was really hard for her to associate that, because we're not taught that way. but however, men think that way. So it's an interesting flow